7 levels of deadliest fish. Most fish are friendly, right? Wrong. You're about to find out in the most disturbing way the 7 levels of deadliest fish on the planet. Level 1, the lionfish. A lot of people have heard about the lionfish. It is, by any reasonable measure, stunning. It floats through the water like it's modeling for a high-end aquarium catalog, with its striped fins fanned out, trailing ornate plumes, looking like something an interior designer would install in a luxury hotel lobby. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is also absolutely venomous, and the way it combines these two qualities is deeply unfair to everyone else in the ocean. The lionfish is a strikingly beautiful but deadly predator with elongated dorsal fin spines that can inject venom into anyone who gets too close. Its venom can cause extreme pain, nausea, and difficulty breathing. You don't need to provoke a lionfish exactly, you just need to touch one. Brush past one in the water. Reach into a reef crevice without looking first. The lionfish doesn't stalk you or chase you down with any kind of murderous intent. It just exists beautifully, entirely unbothered, and you suffer the consequences of getting too close. That's on you, really. Their stings can cause extreme pain, vomiting, and breathing difficulties. Although lionfish stings are not usually fatal to adults, they are much more dangerous to children, the elderly, or anyone who suffers an allergic reaction. So if you're a healthy adult, congratulations, you'll probably survive. You'll just feel like you've been set on fire underwater for several hours, which is a novel experience at least. Something to tell people at parties. Level 2, the candiru. Technically, the candiru barely kills anyone. Technically, the most famous story about what it does to human bodies is probably not even true, and yet it sits firmly at level 2 on this list because the psychological damage it has inflicted on every single person who has ever heard about it is completely, permanently irreparable. The candiru is a small, nearly transparent parasitic catfish that lives in the Amazon River. It is roughly the size of your thumb. It is almost impossible to see in murky water, and according to centuries of terrified local testimony, it is capable of swimming up the stream of a man's urine and lodging itself in the urethra using sharp, backward-facing spines, from which point the only known removal method historically described was surgical. Or, in some particularly grim historical accounts, not surgical at all. While human incidents are rare, the candiru lives by entering the gills of larger fish, which it parasitizes from the inside using backward-pointing spines on its head that lock it in place. It feeds on blood and mucous membranes. It is a tiny, transparent, blood-drinking creature that has evolved specifically to enter bodies through openings and not come back out. In its actual natural habitat, doing its actual natural thing, it is already horrifying enough without any urban legends attached. So what you have is a tiny, blood-drinking, spine-equipped, nearly invisible vampire catfish that has done something truly unspeakable to at least a few people. The science is fuzzy, but the nightmare is permanent. The candiru doesn't need to kill you to make this list. It already lives rent-free in your head, and it has backward-pointing spines, so it's not coming out. That's enough. Level 3, the moray eel. If you've ever gone snorkeling and peered into a rocky crevice, there is a reasonable chance something was already peering back at you. You just didn't know it. That is the moray eel's entire operating philosophy. It lives inside the reef, it watches from the dark, it waits with the kind of patience that only something genuinely unbothered by time can manage, and if you give it even the slimmest reason to feel threatened, it will remind you in the most visceral way available that you are a guest in its home, and the welcome has expired. There are around 200 species of moray eels worldwide, most living in the sea, and some found in freshwater. They can reach over 5 feet in length and have no pectoral fins, which is why people regularly mistake them for snakes until it is too late to find the distinction comforting. They are muscular, fast-striking, and hideously effective in confined, rocky spaces where you have no room to maneuver, and they have spent their entire lives practicing. The teeth are the main event. A moray eel's teeth are exceptionally strong, sharp, and angled backward. Once a moray bites down, the teeth are engineered to prevent release. If you reflexively yank your hand back, the teeth angle in further. You will not be pulling free. The bite wounds bleed heavily, go deep, and are notoriously prone to serious infection because of what's in the mouth. What makes it considerably worse is that moray eels carry a toxin in their oral slime and mucus that destroys red blood cells, believed to be a key reason moray bites are so medically serious and difficult to recover from cleanly. They also possess a second set of jaws. Called pharyngeal jaws, these sit further back in the throat and shoot forward to drag prey deeper inward once the outer bite has locked on. 2 sets of jaws, a toxin in the saliva, backward-pointing teeth that don't release. It is as though the moray eel was designed by someone who had a very specific, very personal grievance against hands and wanted to make sure nothing got away. We hope you're enjoying the video. Take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you're notified when we post amazing new videos. Level 4, the electric eel. I bet you didn't know this, but the electric eel is not actually an eel. It is a knife fish, a completely different category of creature that evolved in the murky freshwater depths of the Amazon basin, and at some point decided that generating electricity was a perfectly reasonable way to navigate existence. Nature reviewed the proposal, approved it, and here we are, thousands of years later, dealing with the consequences. Electric eels don't glow like neon bulbs, as cartoons would have you believe, but they still pack a deeply serious punch. Reaching up to 860 volts, an electric eel's discharge is more than 5 times the voltage you'd experience from sticking a finger in a wall outlet. For context, that's enough electricity to stun a horse. A full-grown horse. The electric eel doesn't just zap you once and consider the matter settled either. It can deliver rapid, repeated shocks in quick succession, and it has essentially weaponized its entire body to do so. Its electric organs make up roughly 80% of its total body length. It didn't just evolve one trick. It is committed entirely. The hunting method is almost comically sci-fi. The electric eel fires off low-level, high-frequency electric pulses to locate prey hiding in the murky environment. These pulses cause the hidden animal to twitch involuntarily, giving away its position. Then the eel delivers a full high-voltage charge that completely immobilizes the target before swallowing it whole. It is a biological radar system fused to a living taser operating in total darkness at the bottom of the Amazon. Nature designed this and then just left it there. Human deaths from electric eels are rare, but multiple shocks can cause respiratory or heart failure. More critically, some victims have drowned in shallow water after being immobilized by a stunning jolt, unable to keep their heads above the surface. That's the detail that matters most. The eel doesn't need to kill you outright. It just needs to switch your muscles off long enough for the river to finish the job. Clean, efficient, and completely indifferent to your feelings about the whole situation. Level 5, the pufferfish. Everything on this list so far has been dangerous in a reasonably straightforward way. It bites you, it stings you, it shocks you, it terrifies you psychologically. The pufferfish operates on a different conceptual level entirely. The pufferfish is dangerous because people voluntarily eat it on purpose, in full knowledge of what it contains, and sometimes die anyway. That is a special, almost philosophical kind of threat. Almost all pufferfish contain tetrodotoxin, a substance so foul that it makes most other fish refuse to eat them. To humans, tetrodotoxin is deadly, up to 1,200 times more poisonous than cyanide by weight. There is enough toxin in a single pufferfish to kill 30 adult humans. There is no known antidote, not a difficult-to-access antidote, not an expensive antidote. No antidote at all. If it gets into your system in sufficient quantity, you wait and hope your body metabolizes it before it kills you, and that is the entirety of the treatment plan. The pufferfish's famous defensive trick, inflating into a spiky ball when threatened, is genuinely charming. It looks like a stress toy that finally cracked under pressure. But the real weapon was never the spikes. It's the toxin sitting in the liver, ovaries, eyes, and skin, and the pufferfish didn't even manufacture it itself. Tetrodotoxin is produced by bacteria in the pufferfish's diet and accumulates over a lifetime of feeding. The pufferfish is immune to it through a genetic mutation. Everything else in the ocean isn't. You aren't. It doesn't care. The poison works by blocking sodium channels throughout the body, progressively paralyzing the muscles while the victim remains fully conscious. The victim can't breathe, can't move, can't do anything except remain completely aware of what is happening as the respiratory system shuts down. And yet Japan built an entire culinary tradition around this exact fish. Called fugu, it is expensive, prestigious, and only legally prepared by chefs who have spent 3 or more years in training and passed a rigorous licensing exam specifically designed around not accidentally poisoning the customers. The liver, historically considered the most flavorful part of the fish, was served in restaurants until the Japanese government banned it outright in 1984 because too many people were dying from eating it. Level 6. The great white shark. 40 years after Jaws terrorized an entire generation out of the ocean, the great white shark remains the creature every human brain defaults to the moment the water gets dark and the imagination gets loud. The reputation is partly earned and partly cinematic mythology, but the part that's genuinely earned is very, very earned. Of the 949 confirmed unprovoked shark attacks on humans ever recorded, great white sharks accounted for 351 of them, with 59 proving fatal. No other species comes close in raw numbers. The great white can reach 6 meters in length, weigh close to 2 tons, and its jaws can generate enough force to sever limbs in a single pass. It hunts by ambush from below, launching upward at speed in what researchers call a breach attack, and in most encounters it inflicts a single devastating bite and then retreats to wait. In instances where the bite has been very large, the tissue and organ damage is enough to be fatal before any help arrives. That single bite strategy is somehow more disturbing than a sustained attack would be. The great white is not trying to eat you, it bites once, retreats, and observes what happens next. You are being evaluated. You are a curiosity investigated with the only instrument available to an animal with no hands and no prior instruction manual on what a human in the water is or means. Most of the time, it decides you're not worth the trouble. The times it doesn't are the ones that make the news. The great white is also genuinely ancient in a way that makes everything else seem recent. The modern species has been around since somewhere between 12 and 18 million years ago, with ancestors potentially stretching back 56 million years or further. It existed before the Amazon River formed, before the Alps rose, before the continents fully settled into the shapes we recognize today. The ocean threw tens of millions of years of evolutionary pressure at this design and never found a compelling reason to change it. Level 7. The stonefish. The stonefish is the most venomous fish on Earth, and you will never see it coming because it looks exactly like a rock. Not kind of like a rock, exactly like a rock. Warty, mottled lumpen, perfectly shaped to blend into the seafloor and every shallow reef it has ever chosen to sit on. It is the fish that nature made specifically to be stepped on by accident and then made brutally lethal so that stepping on it mattered enormously. Stonefish are found in the shallow coastal waters of the Indo-Pacific, and they don't patrol, don't chase, don't announce themselves in any way. They sit on the bottom among actual rocks in reef shallows, sometimes in mere inches of water at the shoreline, and wait, not for you specifically, for anything unlucky enough to make contact. The waiting is effortless because the stonefish barely moves. It barely needs to. It has 13 needle-sharp dorsal spines that stand upright the instant pressure is applied, and each one is loaded with enough venom to cause excruciating, potentially fatal results within the hour. Stonefish are around 14 to 20 inches long and contain enough toxin to kill an adult in under an hour without treatment. earning them the title of the world's most venomous fish without any close competition. The venom attacks the cardiovascular system, destroys tissue, and causes pain that survivors consistently describe as the worst physical experience of their entire lives. It's worse than broken bones, worse than surgery, worse than anything most people have a reference point for. The affected limb swells rapidly. Necrosis can follow. In serious, untreated cases, the organs begin to fail. The recommended immediate treatment is immersing the wound in hot water, as heat helps denature the venom proteins and reduce their effectiveness. This sounds simple until you consider that the person who just stood on a stonefish is currently in so much agony that calmly fill a bucket with hot water is an almost impossibly optimistic set of instructions. Anti-venom exists, but you need to be somewhere that has it, which many of the beautiful tropical beaches where stonefish live are not. What places the stonefish above everything else on this list is the specific combination of factors it brings to the table. The deadliest venom of any fish on Earth, a body designed by evolution to be completely undetectable to the human eye, a habitat that overlaps directly with the places humans wade, snorkel, and play barefoot without a second thought. It doesn't chase you. It doesn't need to. You're already heading toward it. Right now, somewhere on a warm, shallow beach that looks completely safe, a stonefish is sitting among the rocks looking like part of the scenery. Venom primed, utterly indifferent to your existence. You'll come to it eventually. They always do.